What's good, people? It's Jagilsdorf coming back at you with another video, another Rich Kid Broke Parents RKBP video. If you're not in the playlist, go ahead and click that link right up there and you'll get into the playlist so you can see all the videos related to that. But let's get into the video. How much is your time worth? Define the price of 1 hour of your time. This includes all of your skills and expertise, but maybe it's more complicated than that. In that case, take the average of all the jobs you've worked. What is your hourly rate? For the purpose of the book and this YouTube series, we're going to be using $25 an hour. This is a fair price, but surely your time is worth much more than that. Which brings me to the point that every hour of your time is not equal. 1 hour doesn't equal 1 hour, which is the difference between prime hours and spare hours. Imagine being in the best mood. You know, you're well rested, well fed, you've had 3 cups of coffee in the last 20 minutes. That next hour of your life might be the most productive hour you could possibly have. In contrast, imagine that you've been awake for 30 hours plus, having only slept 4 hours of sleep, and you were awake 30 hours before that. You have a splitting headache, everyone is just annoying you, you're hungry, you haven't had coffee in 12 hours or whatever, you're in a terrible mood. That next hour, you're probably gonna have terrible productivity. In fact, you'd rather just go to bed at that point than work another minute. You'd rather keep your time. The question becomes, which hour is worth more? Does it fluctuate depending on your mood? Does it fluctuate depending on what you would rather do? As a customer, if I were gonna request your skills and expertise and I needed to hire you for a job and I needed an hour of your time, I'd want your prime hours because you're gonna do your best. We just defined prime hours as high productivity. They're more valuable. But what if I need my project done tonight? What if quality isn't nearly as important as an expedite fee? Well, then I would want your spare hours. But you don't want to give away your spare hours, really, because you're tired and you'd rather spend your spare hours sleeping. So which hour is really worth more? And this is a hard question to answer. Go ahead and leave your comments down below. I read all of them. I want to engage in a discussion here because everybody has their own expectations and definitions, and I want to know what yours are. There isn't a right or wrong answer here, but I need you to pick your price. What is your time worth? Once you've determined that, then we shift over into choose your cost. How much money will it take to solve all of your problems? Or at least like maybe the top 50 problems, top 20, top 10? What about number 1? Imagine you won the lottery. All of your loans are paid off, you have a new house, you have a new car, all of your bills are not only paid, but you have a bank account where they're gonna just be automatically deducted for the next year. You don't even have to look at your statements or anything. Like, you're set. Now what? Like, you've never been more financially stable in your entire life. You've never met anyone more financially stable. Now what do? Do you still need to work a 40 to 50 hour per week job? Imagine a job offer comes across your table. At that point, you're extremely financially stable. So imagine a job comes across your table and you're like, hey, 20 to 30 hours per week and it's less money. Would you take it? I mean, do you really need the money? We just described how financially stable you are. Do you really need the money? Comment below. I want to know your answer to that. Would you take the job? It's of course less work. You know, it's only 20 to 30 hours. It's not as serious. You probably don't need a degree to get it or any skills or expertise. It's just, you know, to keep you busy, really. But these are the definitions that you need to outline. Everything comes at a price. You have to choose your cost. So instead of using money, we could use, like, instead of using dollars, we could use other units of measure. For example, we could use cups of coffee or miles in your car. Now, gas prices are a little fickle right now compared to when I wrote the book, but consider $100 in your tank is how many miles in your car? It's not really $100 anymore, it's 400 or 500 miles in your car. Or that's not $50, that's 5 to 10 cups of coffee. Throughout a given week, I'd rather have 10 cups of coffee because I have about 2 cups of coffee every morning, 5 days a week. And I'd rather have my 10 cups of coffee Monday through Friday than $50. So I make the trade because it's worth it. I've chosen my cost. When you're making your next purchase, you should consider what unit of measure you're using and try changing the words a little bit and just see how you really feel about that purchase. See if you're still willing to make that purchase at all. People like to say that time is money and money is time, so you could immediately just switch it to hours. And instead of how much money does that cost, well, how much time does that cost? And this works particularly for people who don't like their job, because if I said, yeah, you have to work an extra 5 hours at your job this week, is it worth it now? But you can take this even further. If a project costs too much money, you could just replace that with, that project is going to cost too much time, or I should invest more time into that project. Again, you can take this even further further. And I like to replace time with life. The context changes it a little dramatically, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but I mean, think about it. If you're earning money in terms of hours, it's not about spending money, it's about spending your life. I've wasted so much time and money on that project. I've wasted so much of my life on that project. And this brings me to the concept of putting money first as far as your priorities go, because everybody has problems, but they can all be divided into two main subcategories: life problems and money problems. Life problems are things like purpose and fulfillment, love and happiness. These are problems that people typically say can't be solved by money. Money can't buy happiness. Money can't give you purpose. It can't give you certain things out of life. Those are life problems. Now, don't get me wrong. Money can buy things that make you happier, but if you're not a happy person in general, if you're not ready to receive happiness in the world and you have life problems, all the money in the world won't solve your life problems. And I still don't say that money buys happiness. Like I said, it can buy things that can make you happier, but I typically don't say money buys happiness, but it can get rid of problems. And that can make happiness easier, right? But it doesn't actually buy happiness itself. You have to create happiness and fulfillment on your own. You are responsible for your own happiness. And it's not easy, and I'm not trying to say that it is. And it becomes even harder when you have money problems. Money problems could be things like lack of clothing, transportation, food, rent, your house, like all of these things. These are all money problems. And it's kind of hard to think about like happiness and fulfillment in life when you don't know where your next meal is coming from. It's hard to find love and fulfillment when you're homeless. If you prioritize all of your life problems, you will still have money problems. And they will slowly but surely, even if you solve all of your life problems, the money problems will slowly but surely come back. And the life problems will start to have issues. So say you solve all your life problems, right? But you have money issues. Well, you were happy and fulfilled and you had a family, but you can't afford to feed them. You can't afford healthcare. You can't afford proper education, and you want to be able to do better things. And now you're losing all of this fulfillment. You had all of your life problems solved, but your money problems ruined your life. So put money first. If you solve the money problems first, the life problems become so much easier to solve. And once you get rid of the life problems, they're gone almost indefinitely. They will still come back. That is life, right? They are so much easier to get rid of and keep them gone when you don't have money problems coming back in and creating more life issues. There are two main examples of this in 2008 and in 2020, when a lot of families saw no problem with life at all. Everything was going well. And then money problems came in out of nowhere, and then now you have life problems. Now your family's unhappy. Now you're unhappy, and it's harder to, adjust to the world because money came in and decided to just destroy everything, right? Which leads to the next section. What do you want, right? So like, what is it that you actually want? And every single time I ask someone this question, it's kind of like a milestone, right? Like I get a response like, oh, I want to graduate college. I want to pay off my loans. And to me, those aren't destinations, right? Those are milestones. Those aren't the end goal. Like what do you want? What's the achievement? What does the peak of the mountain look like? You're hiking this mountain and you're saying, yeah, no, that campsite 5 miles up the mountain, that was the milestone. That's graduating college. That's paying off your loans. What does the view from the peak look like? When you get all the way at the top and you get to look at everything, what does that look like? The question becomes, what is the end goal? It's like, imagine you're staring at a river, right? And you're like, okay, I need to build a bridge across this river. And so many people are worried about how they're gonna build the bridge. It doesn't matter if it's made of pine or maple or steel or aluminum. Build the bridge. Okay, it doesn't matter how you made it. You need to get across the river. That's the goal. And everybody's so worried about the bridge construction. What you're gonna go for college or what college you're gonna go to and stuff like that. And it's just like, then what? You're gonna get a job. And then what? And then you're gonna make money. Okay, and why? What's the end goal? Why do you want to do that? Is it literally just to survive? Like just so that you can get by? What's the end goal? What do you want? What do you want to achieve? Now, some people want to be millionaires. They do. They just want as much money as possible. Other people, like myself, just don't want to have to keep working. Early retirement. Put in the work now and reap the benefits forever, more or less. And I think most people just want like an average lifestyle. They don't want a lot of fancy things. They don't need a mansion. They just want, their home, their crappy car that's reliable. They want a couple bucks in the bank, and they just don't want to have like too many hours that they put into work every week, and just a nice average baseline. And that's enough for most people, and that's fine, and that's a great goal to have. but you need to determine what you want specifically. What exactly do you want? Like, is it a specific dollar amount? Maybe it's a fast car or a home, your dream house. Maybe you want to build your own home. It could be telling your boss a very specific and profane parting sentence. It could be an experience such as consuming an obscene amount of drugs and alcohol on a week-long bender, a month-long bender with all of your best friends in whatever location annually. But it is your goal, and you can't ever let anybody judge your goal, because that is what your goal is. It is yours, and that is what gets you moving. That's what gets you pushing forward, because that is what you want, and that is completely up to you, and no one can ever judge you for your goal. Never explain your goal to someone else with the expectation that they are going to understand why you even want it in the first place, or why it's a good goal. And definitely don't let someone tell you that the goal that's gonna make you happy, the thing you want, is a dumb idea. Most people aren't going to understand what your goal is. My specific dream is going to be extremely different from most people's dreams, and that's totally okay with me because it's my dream. It's my goal. Now, if you're struggling with finding that destination and figuring out what's on the other side of the bridge, that's fine. Most people don't know what they want. Like, welcome to the club. In which case, I just tell people to enjoy the journey and have fun as much as you possibly can. And every once in a while, take a look around and realize that you're at your own mini peak. You never really notice it, but you kind of look around and you're like, wow, I kind of have everything that I asked for, or most of what I asked for 3 years ago, 5 years ago. At one point, I begged for it to be in the position that I'm in right now. And I should be happy about that. But I'm so focused on the things that I want that I'm not able to enjoy the journey. So don't get me wrong, you really have to make sure you're enjoying the journey too, because that's what keeps pushing you forward. But if you don't have a set destination in mind, that's fine. Make a list of all the milestones. Make a bucket list of all the things that you want to do. And physically make the actual list. If you want to make it digitally, that's fine. But actually make it. Don't just think about a couple things. Type your list down in the comments, by all means. I'll read it and comment down below. Comments are my favorite section of YouTube, so don't hesitate. Especially because you're going to be surprised once you see it down on paper of all of the things that you want to do. Most of them are a lot easier to achieve than you might think. And more importantly, as a little tangent here, some of you need to make a to-done list. Some of you need to make a list of all the things you've already done to help recognize where you are. But when we look at the to-do list, when we look at all the things you want to get done and all the things you want to achieve, it's a lot easier to get than you might think. And once you put it down on paper, it just starts to really unfold. It really does. Because it's no longer like a dream. It becomes more of a goal. It becomes a plan. And you actually start to act on these things. Not just like, yeah, one day I want to do that. It's like, no, like put it down on paper and hang it up and see it and think about it regularly. And the problem is that I have quite a few friends that spend a lot of their time saving all of their money, and that's great. And like they don't really have that to-do list, and they just keep working for work's sake, and they just keep working and making all this money, and they have an insanely large emergency savings. And that's awesome. The rainy day fund is amazing. But if you're only spending your money on rainy days, you're never gonna truly enjoy the sunshine. Like, I will never give up my expensive coffee. I love coffee, and that is what I'm gonna spend my money on, and I'm totally okay with that. But there are things I'm willing to give up in order to get that cup of coffee in the first place. If I want the cup of coffee, well then maybe I'm not gonna get a sandwich for lunch. Maybe I'm gonna pack a lunch. This way there's some sort of opportunity cost. You have to give something up in order to get what you want. Now, this is most certainly saying you shouldn't be giving up everything. It's about giving up the things that you don't really use, the things that you don't appreciate as much as you should. I love my coffee. It's on the top tier list. So getting rid of the things that you're like, I'd be okay without it. Get rid of it. Focus more on those goals that you want to achieve, So in contrast to the bucket list, you have to come up with, well, more or less, a bucket list. You can suspend that one membership for that one streaming platform, at least for a month. Just suspend it. It'll be there when you get back. You can always buy certain things again later. Perhaps it's better left on pause. If you bought it and you use it to the fullest, then keep it. But if not, well, fuck it. There are better things in life than wasting money. Determine what your goals are. If there's one thing that you achieve this year or one thing that you achieve next year, what would it be and why? Again, comment down below. What is your number one goal? Write it down and tape it to your ceiling above your bed. Tape it to your bathroom mirror. Make it the background and the lock screen to your phone. Tape it to the coffee pot, your bedroom door, your bathroom door. Tape it on your steering wheel. Put it all over the place. Everything you do should be moving towards that goal. Now I have a challenge for you. Believe that you will achieve that goal. Truly believe it. Starting now, your life revolves around that goal with zero excuses. That's the difference between you and everyone else. Everyone else has excuses. You don't. It's not a dream. It's not just like this fantasy idea. It's something that you're actually going to achieve. Zero excuses. There's not enough time. I would, but first I have to. Someone like me could never. There's too much risk to. No excuses. Alright, thanks you guys for watching. You can check out the next video in the series or the previous video in the series. Check out the playlist in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.